Hi guys, I just wanted to jump onto the phone and post this video on YouTube. It's different to anything that I've posted, and I know there are a lot of people who talked about this kind of stuff, but it was on my mind and I was pretty much having a chat with myself, and I thought, as I'm saying things to myself, I thought there might be somebody out there who needs to hear what I'm saying. So here I am. So I've mentioned it on and off on my channel that I suffer from depression and severe anxiety. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 15. God only knows when it began, but that's when I was diagnosed. Was diagnosed with severe anxiety when I was 16 or 17, and we traced that back to when I was 4. And we realized very quickly that I'd been having anxiety since I was 4 due to some stuff that went down at that age. And over the years, I wouldn't say that I've gotten good at dealing with depression, or at least like I've gotten over it. I don't. And I haven't gotten over my anxiety, but both I have gotten to a place where I'm a lot better at coping with them, or at least living with them and not always letting them control me. I've had a few setbacks, especially over the last couple of years. I've had at least 2 or 3 mental breakdowns in my life. One, I didn't actually eat or talk to anybody for 1 to 2 months. Um, I lost so much weight in that time. Best diet ever. That's me looking for a bright side. And then I had one a couple of years ago, which I would say was much worse because it was a lot more dangerous to my well-being. I have, full disclosure, I have a history of self-harm and attempted suicide. So that's why I take topics on that, I take it very seriously. I am self-harm free for maybe 4 or 5 years now. And you have to, maybe not for you, but for me, and I think a lot of people, you kind of got to look at it like drug addiction or alcoholism or anything like that, where you may fall off the wagon and then you got to get back on it. I got to a place when I was in my early 20s, maybe 22, 23, where that method of coping with my problems stopped helping, and it actually started to make things worse. And I remember the moment that that happened. I had just had this very traumatic experience with a gentleman. Yeah, I won't go into details. And I came home and I was just so messed up in the head, and I was full of loathing for him, and I was full of self-loathing for myself. And so I started hurting myself, which up until that point I hadn't done in a while. I hadn't done in maybe 1 or 2 years at the time. And after the first moment I did it, I just started bawling my eyes out. I usually would feel a relief because for a brief moment my brain is so focused, and this is mostly why people do this. Your brain is so focused on the physical pain that you're feeling, and your body is releasing adrenaline, endorphins, and all that stuff to, deal with the pain and also start the healing process, that you don't have time to think about what you're depressed and anxious about. That didn't happen that time. Instead, I felt so much worse. And that's when I had this little epiphany, and this is why I don't do it anymore. I had this little voice in my head go, you let somebody upset you so badly that you hurt yourself, and they're never going to know it. They're not going to know it, and they're not going to care. But you are. So who has really come out of this the worst out of it? It's still you. And at that moment I stopped. Now, guaranteed, there has been one time I fell off the wagon, but I had the same response where I realized it doesn't help me anymore. And I nearly fell off the wagon a couple years ago, and I didn't want to do that, and I fell right down the very dark rabbit hole where I attempted suicide, and I hadn't done anything like that in, it had been at least a decade maybe since I'd attempted anything that bad. And the only person who knew that at the time was my therapist. As soon as I was in that place, I went, no, 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 I don't like this place. I don't want to be back in this place. I'm immediately going to go and get help. I was a mess. I was just wanting everything to end because I couldn't take the misery that I was in. I'm still miserable, by the way. And then when I decided, no, 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 I'm not doing that, I was just full of anger. More anger than I've ever been in my life. It was pure rage, and it was getting to a point, I don't know if you've ever seen someone in some kind of an episode, but I guess it's kind of what I was in, where I just wanted everybody to stop talking, and every person talking at me was just, I was overwhelmed by so many emotions that I couldn't put names to, and I couldn't voice them. I didn't know how to get out all this emotions that were building up in me, where there was rage, and there was anxiety, and there was this overwhelming depression that's like pure misery. And I got violent, and I'm not a violent person, but it's like my body just didn't know how else to deal with it, and I I did something that my father was very well known for in my youth, and I punched a wall. That scared my mother, and it scared me too. And when talking about that with my therapist, and she's like, why did you do that? And I said, because in that moment I really wanted to hurt my mom, but there was another part of me that didn't want to hurt my mom, so I hit the wall instead. And that's a whole other thing. I'm still trying to live with and deal with my anxiety. My triggers are very strange, and but that's different for everybody. If you have anxiety, your triggers are going to be different to mine, or we may have some overlap. But just because it sounds weird to you, and a person who doesn't have anxiety, doesn't mean that it's not very serious to the person with it. One person can go like, but that's such a nothing thing. But to the person with anxiety, it's crippling. You don't know necessarily why that scares you, but it does. And it is a horrible, horrible feeling. And it's so hard to try and put depression and anxiety into words. It doesn't matter the language, there just aren't enough words created in the dictionary to describe the thoughts and feelings that are going on inside. You can't always vocalize them. And if you're talking to another person who has anxiety, like I have a really good friend who is or was also a YouTuber, and we've had talks about our depression and anxiety, and we totally get each other. And we can sometimes be saying something and we're not completely explaining it, but we 100% understand what the other person is saying. It's that kind of thing. You have to kind of live it to understand it. Not all people with anxiety are sympathetic. Some of them are still in that mind frame where they're very, I don't know a nice way to say this, and I'm going to say self-centered. It sounds very harsh, but I don't mean it in a harsh way. When things are bad, it's hard not to only see your own misery, and so you don't go beyond the scope. I typically have always been able to do that. It's actually, my therapist says I need to work on that. But when you get into a place, if you are one of those people, if you get into a place where you start to come to terms with your anxiety, then you start to be able to become more sympathetic towards others. But if you're not in that place, you're not going to really have much sympathy for others. You can get mad at someone. That's okay to feel mad at someone who's like, I can't believe you're so unsympathetic, or you just only care about yourself. But you have to keep in mind they're in a really bad place where they're not mentally capable of doing that. You can go ahead and bitch about them to a friend, you have one-on-one and go, oh my god, that person really pissed me off. I've done it too. But I do try in those moments as well, once I've calmed down and dealt with my own emotions, I do try and see if I can help them. I'm like, I've been where you are, I know how you're feeling, and I didn't really have anybody to guide me through that. I'm willing to help you. If they don't take your help, you can't force them. You know, it is quite literally the same as an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever. They're not going to start coping with it or confronting it until they're ready to, and you can't make a person do that. You can't make a person deal with whatever the hell is going on here unless they are fully prepared to do so. Otherwise, you could just make it worse. People, depending on who you are, it's not easy to be the friend of somebody who has depression and anxiety. And even if you yourself have it, doesn't mean it's easy. Like I said, everybody has a different process, and what may work for one person doesn't work for another. You kind of have to get to know that person to understand how to deal with their issues, and only after that does it kind of just become second knowledge. People like to go, well, we're going to give, if you are depressed or you're anxious, we're going to give you a lot of positivity. This is what people try to do with me. Again, this may work for some people, but you've got to keep in mind it doesn't work for everybody, and you really got to read the room and the person. With me, people try to throw positivity at me, like ball it up and chuck it at me. It makes me worse. It makes me more depressed, and it actually starts compiling up on my anxiety. So my anxiety attack starts to actually escalate. It's because when you're, in my case, if you're in the middle of a depressive episode or an anxiety attack, you are constantly going over every negative scenario in your life, pretty much. And if you are someone like me who has had a supremely shitty life, and the last 8 years of which have been fucking hell, then when people try to tell you it's going to be okay, things will get better, those words seem so positive and uplifting. For me, they hurt. They hurt so badly, because I've had people telling me these things my entire life, and nothing has changed. Nothing has improved. My circumstances have only gotten worse as the years have gone on. So when people say that, I'm reminded of all the other times people have said that to me. Those words now are trigger words for me. Again, this isn't everybody, but I know there are other people who feel the way I do. You have to understand that not everybody wants you to fix them. That's another problem. Fix-it people. I hate fix-it people. People who, and most of the time these are people who don't have anxiety or depression, they come across someone who does, and they think that they can give you all life's answers and you're going to be cured like that, you know, like a fucking Logan Paul tweet. That's not how life works. People are complex. The mind is complex. Read the person in the situation. Sometimes a person maybe just wants to vent. Maybe that's all they want. To just get out all the negative thoughts, all the negative feelings without any judgment. And then maybe once they do, they get to go, oh, okay, I got that out of my system. I'm feeling a little better now. You don't have to try and put a positive spin on it. Just let them be that way. Just let them have their moment. If they want your advice, that's fine and you can give it. But again, test the waters. Is this what they want? You can usually tell pretty fast. If a person isn't really asking questions and they're just kind of throwing their feelings at you, they want to vent. So let them vent and don't judge them. Just listen to them. Actually respond to what they're saying. Ask appropriate questions like if it was me and I said, oh my god, I'm having this absolute shit. Okay, why was your day shit? Well, this happened and this happened and this went. And they're like, oh wow, that's really bad. Okay, so how are you doing right now? Little things like that where you're continuing the conversation and letting the other person know that you're actually listening to them, that you are being a friend. It's not wrong to want to help people, but there's a difference between trying to help them and trying to fix them. Other people are not your problem to fix. And you gotta let people go at their own pace. Maybe there are some people who want you to fix them. That's fine, but that's a different case. It's not your job. And when people are like, oh, cool, I can do this, I will snap my fingers, it's like, but... and I've experienced this one a lot. People who try to give me life advice on how to deal with my depression or how to deal with my anxiety, but they don't know the first fucking thing about it. They haven't asked me, what's my depression like? What's my anxiety like? How long have I had them? They're just immediately thinking that they hold the key to the universe and can say one thing and it's going to fix you. That's not how it fucking works. And that people who do that really piss me off because they don't actually care about you. They just want to kind of come off as this hero. And you're not a hero if you're not actually taking the time to listen to a person and what's wrong with them. You're actually an asshole. That's a fact. So if you're a person who does that, you're a dick. Cut that shit out. Positivity is not bad. You just have to be aware of who you're giving it to. But here's the thing. When people try to tell you, oh, don't think negatively about that. Don't have those feelings. Don't do that. Don't think that. Don't. Oh my god. Stop it. Don't tell somebody in an emotionally and mentally fragile state what to do. Don't start dictating to them. I know you're trying to help, but you're not helping. Again, maybe depending on the person, that might be helping, but most of the time, it's not helping. A lot of people who have depression or anxiety or both have spent a lot of years with people telling them, get over it, it's no big deal, you're just sad, it's nothing, just move on. Guaranteed most of us have heard those words quite a few times in our lives. And it hurts. It hurts not having someone take the time to understand you. It hurts not having someone take the time to listen. And it hurts feeling like you're all alone and no one's going to help you. Because frankly, we all need a little help. I'm not going to deny it. I deal with this shit most of the time by myself. And sometimes my friends do try to help. But their methods, I know, come from a good place. But they don't work for me. I have other friends who get me and can relate, so they're a little bit better at dealing with it. The other ones just make it worse. I'm not mad at them because I know there's no malice in it, and when I am in a good headspace, I can appreciate that they tried. But when you're in that bad space, you're just like, I fucking hate you, go sit on a thumbtack or something like that. If you have anxiety or depression, I'm saying those words a lot, and you have gotten to a place where you're even telling yourself, okay, I'm just not going to think about bad things. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to completely block it out. I'm not going to deal with it. Don't do that. You may in that moment think that you're helping yourself. You're not helping yourself in the long run. You're bottling it up. Eventually someone's going to shake the bottle and it's going to erupt, and it's not going to go well for you or anybody else, but especially you, the individual who's going through it. People want to tell you to be positive. Be positive tomorrow. You've got time to be positive, but in that moment, if you are feeling sad or angry or very negative or pessimistic, feel those feelings. Embrace those feelings. Take a moment to accept and acknowledge that you are feeling really shit. You hate everyone, you hate everything, you think your life sucks, tomorrow's going to be really shit. Have those thoughts and feelings. Nobody has the right to tell you that you can't. Have them, feel them, embrace them, and then deal with them. That's the thing. People try to get me to get over it, but this is my process, and I know my process. I may spend half a day, a full day, a couple of days, maybe even a week, just being this negative, dark cloud around the house. But that's me just dealing with the emotions. And then I'm going to take a moment to go, okay, now that I've done that, are things at the moment really that bad? No, I don't think they are. I think that stupid little thing that's wrong in my head just made me think they are. I think they suck. But can I maybe turn this around? Is there maybe a chance things can improve a little bit? As much as it kills me to admit that, yes, there are. Kills me to admit to anything positive. But it's true. You just have to kind of walk through the fire. Walk through it. Deal with it. Accept that those are your thoughts and those are your feelings, and then take the necessary time to process them. If you just bottle them up and act like they don't exist, you're going to find it's going to be a lot harder to get past your own condition or even try to live with it. You got to understand yourself and accept that there's a part of you that's maybe not that great. And I mean emotionally, and it's going to have some really hard days. But if you know them and you come up with a way to deal with them, like this is for me, then do that. I still have people who are just like, even my mom, who she's just trying to be a mom. And she's just trying to be like, I'm just trying to cheer you up. And I'm like, stop trying to cheer me up. Just let me be fucking miserable. And then as soon as I've gotten through it, I've weathered the storm, I come out of it feeling a lot better. I'm like, okay, I'm better now. I got it out of my system. I processed it. And now I'm back. I'm feeling capable. And I'm going forward with a game plan. Not everybody is there yet, but you can be. Depends on how you deal with it, how you decide to deal with it, and how you let other people around you influence you in that moment. If you know there's a certain person who's probably going to trigger you and make it worse, stay away from them. You may love them, but stay away from them if you can. Wait till you're feeling better, then go talk to them. A lot of people don't know that I have anxiety, and if I tell them I'm in the middle of a severe anxiety attack, they're like, yeah, sure you are. And that is also a symptom of my anxiety. When I was in high school, I was so terrified of all the kids who bullied me, seeing me upset and seeing that they had an effect on me, that my brain kind of made me unable to show visible signs of being upset, like anxiety or depression. So it kind of all gets internalized. Maybe at most I'll get really red in the face or I will start to shake. Aside from that, you wouldn't know that I was in a really that I was probably on the brink of passing out. You wouldn't know it. And so, like, yay, that helped me in high school, but that's actually a bad thing now because now people don't believe me and they think that, oh, you're just saying that, but you don't mean it. Well, no, actually, it's true. So, one thing people who really know me have come to learn that if you actually see me and I'm crying or I am extremely shaking and I can't really breathe and I start slurring my words and all that stuff, if you start seeing me having the complete visible signs of an anxiety attack, you know that that is DEFCON 1. Like all the others, it's like it was manageable and I was contained. You didn't know it, so I can just kind of, we'll be fine. I'll move on from this. But if you can actually see the signs of it, we're in a really bad place and you may need to call an ambulance because shit just hit the fan. And I had one of those the other day, and I think my mom was actually surprised because she saw that I was crying. And she knows I don't cry in public. But we were in a situation, she's like, no, cry, it's okay, it'll work in your favor. And I'm like, I'm not doing this on purpose. She was just trying to lighten the mood, but bless her. So I could go on and tell you the full in-depth stories of why I have anxiety, what my triggers are, and all that stuff. And if you want to know that about me, I'll gladly make a video on the subject. But I just really wanted to say this and get this out there because maybe there's somebody who needs to hear it. In my time, I've actually dealt with a lot of people with anxiety and depression. I've helped with people who have attempted suicide or self-harm. It's kind of something I've done. I'm not a professional. I always was. I did study counseling and psychology, but I'm just someone who tries to be there for people who have the same problems that I do. And it's simple as I've been where you are and I know how you're feeling. And I didn't really have people there for me, so I want to try and be there for other people. And most of the time, I'm good at dealing with other people and their different triggers and how they process things. Sometimes I come up with some that are a bit challenging, but I've done this with strangers and people who are friends. And so that is pretty much why I'm doing this, because I know that while I personally don't want to hear this stuff, a lot of people come to me and they need to hear it or they need someone to talk to. And a lot of people have come to me over the years. I used to get 3 a.m. phone calls from people. I would say, like, what? I'm like, okay, I'm awake. I'm not boasting myself up here. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that I think there may be people out there who need to hear this, and not just people who suffer from mental health problems, but people who maybe have friends who have mental health problems and they don't know how to deal with them. And it's not easy. If you're a friend who cares and you genuinely want to help, then I think that is amazing. The hardest thing being a friend of someone like that is you need patience. And patience is the hardest part if you're the friend. You may want to throttle them and you may have moments where you're like, oh my God, why won't you just get over it? And you know what? To the other people, I can see both sides of the coin. And you're not a bad person if you have those thoughts, because dealing with somebody else's mental anguish is also draining on you. And that's why it's also, if you want to help people or just be a friend, you also have to acknowledge that it's going to be taxing on your mental health, and you have to take time to step away from it for both your sakes. You can't help someone if you're getting worn down to the point where you blow up at them, because you're going to end up making them worse, and then you're going to feel guilty, and it's going to be a shitstorm. Dealing with mental health and people with mental health is hard for the people who have it. It's hard for the people around them. It's just, it's a ripple effect. It just spreads. And it kind of applies to so many things in this world. People who have this, people who have medical problems, people who have addictions, this, that it's to the individual, you are the one affected, and it's you. And that's fine, because it's true. To those around the individual, if there are people like that, if you do actually have people around you, they're going to have some problems. They're going to see that there's a you problem, but they're also going to see how it affects them as well. It's hard to be sympathetic sometimes. Does it make you a bad person? Not necessarily. I think a lot of people want to jump on people and it's like, oh my god, you thought this. If you've never been in a situation where you've had to take on the burden of somebody else's burdens, then you don't understand that it's hard for everybody, and that sometimes depression and anxiety affects the people who aren't even diagnosed with it. That's a fact. It's a crazy fact, but it's a fact. So, like I said, this is completely different to anything that I post, but I'd had a really bad week. Bad things just kept happening, and it was overwhelming. And didn't trigger my anxiety, did flare up my depression though. And then today, it was just like Jenga. You pulled out the wrong one and the whole thing came tumbling down. And people were trying to be really nice to me. And I know, now that I've calmed down, and I know in the moment they were trying to be nice to me, but it wasn't what I needed or wanted to hear. I thank those people for trying. I think there should be gold stars given to people who at least want to try. May not have gone about it the right way, but effort counts in my opinion. But then, like I said, I've I don't know if I said this. I don't remember half the stuff I say, but I did just complete today's workout. I wasn't going to. I've been healthy and working out for 3 weeks now. This is my 4th week. Today was bad. I ate 4 chocolates today. I've been good during this entire diet and health kick. I've not cheated once. And I slept today because I had a moment where I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Why bother putting in this effort if it doesn't mean anything to me? And that's while I was in a really bad headspace. So I went and took a nap. I ended up having nightmares while I was taking a nap. And I woke up and there were still people trying to be nice. And I forced myself awake. I could have stayed in that bed, skipped some meals, not done my workout, but I'm not a quitter. My mum didn't raise me to be one. I'm not a quitter. I don't do that. Quitting? No. I hold the title of someone who perseveres. And so there was that little part of me in my brain while the rest of me wanted to give up that said, you have come this far, don't you even think about it. And so I was miserable while I was making dinner, and I tried to fit all my macronutrients into one meal. And then by some miracle, I found the energy to go and work out. It was hard, and I still managed to push myself. I don't know where the fuck I plucked that energy from to do that entire workout, but I did. And then I came and I sat down, put back on my regular crappy clothes, And I just was having a conversation with myself. And that's when I went, you know what? I know other people who need to hear this. I know other people who go through this. And so that's why I had made this video. Pretty self-explanatory. It's hard to pick yourself up. I'm always having to pick myself up. Sorry. I'm always having to pick myself up. That's always how I've been. It's very lonely. It's very lonely, and it sucks to be the only person really looking after you. And I do often have moments where I wish that there was somebody else who could help me out a bit more. I have therapy, and that's great. I wish I could go more often, but I can't afford to go more often. And my mum has moments where she tries to be sympathetic, but she's got her own problems. And so I've kind of always been left to deal with myself by myself. And it's been very strange for me when I talk to people about this stuff, even my therapist, and they try to tell me, do you not see how strong you are? Most people would have just given up. You've had break after break after break after break. You've been knocked down so many times and you keep getting up. How do you not see that as a strength? And even as I'm saying that, I'm just quoting them because I have moments where I maybe feel a little positive and I go, wow, you fucking did that. And then I have other moments where I'm like, well, what else were you gonna do? Like, I don't see the positive. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Depends what day you catch me on. But, like I said, I know how it feels to not have someone there for me, or to help me, or to guide me. So the very least is that I can do this, and maybe hope that it gives somebody else a perspective, whether it's on how to deal with their depression and anxiety, or how it's somebody else and how they can help a friend or family member with depression and anxiety. It's a bitch. It's a bitch. It really is. You can't say anything nice about it. Some of us, it's a condition where you can sink or swim. Some of us sink. It doesn't make people weak. It just, if you are someone who is, you can't push past it, or even if you are someone who has committed suicide, you are not weak. If you have even thought about it, you're not weak. It's just that place in your mind was a lot stronger. But it doesn't mean you're weak. It's like you lived with it every fucking day for how long? No, you're not weak. It's... That's a whole other subject I could get into, but that would probably start getting a little controversial. So I'm gonna... I could go on, but I'm not. I'm gonna stop there and hope that I've helped somebody hear something they needed to hear today. And if you want to hear a bit more about me, you want to learn a bit more about me on the more depressing aspects of my life, I'll be open and transparent about them. Again, I do that because I feel like it may help somebody. I haven't done that before until today because I just didn't feel like it was right yet. Today it felt right. So if you want to hear more about that, I'll happily do that. If you're content with this, good. But please love each other, love yourself. That sounds corny, I know, but take the time to deal with yourself, to take care of yourself. If you need that moment, then take that moment. Fuck everybody else, just take it. And then go into the next day hopefully feeling a little better than you did yesterday. That's all I'm gonna say. So from me to you, I hope tomorrow looks a little bit better.